I never thought I'd be the kind of person who checks their partner's phone. But on a rainy Tuesday evening in October, when my wife Jessica accidentally left an unfamiliar device charging in our guest bathroom, my entire world shifted on its axis. That small black phone, buzzing with notifications from someone named M, would unravel 8 years of what I believed was a perfect marriage. My name is Daniel, and this is the story of how I discovered that the woman I loved more than life itself had been living a double life for almost 2 years. Jessica and I met during our final year at university in Boston. She was studying interior design, and I was finishing my degree in software engineering. Our first conversation happened at a coffee shop near campus, where she accidentally spilled her latte on my laptop. Instead of being angry, I was captivated by her emerald green eyes and the way she nervously apologized while trying to dry my keyboard with napkins. That clumsy accident turned into a 4-hour conversation that felt like minutes. We talked about everything from our childhood dreams to our favorite books, and I knew that night I had met someone extraordinary. Our courtship was like something from a romantic movie. I would leave surprise notes in her textbooks, and she would sketch little drawings of us on Post-its that I'd find in my jacket pockets. After graduation, I proposed to her on the same bench outside that coffee shop where we first met. She cried tears of joy and said yes before I could even finish my rehearsed speech. Our wedding was intimate and beautiful, surrounded by family and close friends in a small chapel in Vermont. During autumn, when the leaves painted the landscape in brilliant oranges and reds. We built a life together in Seattle, where I landed a great job at a tech company, and Jessica started her own interior design business. We bought a charming craftsman-style house with a garden where Jessica would spend her weekends planting roses. Every morning, I would wake up to find her already awake, sketching design ideas in her journal while drinking chamomile tea. She had this habit of humming softly when she was focused, and that sound became the soundtrack of my happiness. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our shared dreams of starting a family. Life felt complete and full of promise. But about 18 months ago, subtle changes began to appear. Jessica started taking her phone everywhere, even to the bathroom. She became protective of her laptop, always closing it quickly when I entered the room. She joined a new gym and started working out 5 times a week, which I initially thought was wonderful and supported enthusiastically. Her business seemed to be booming with late-night meetings and weekend consultations that kept her away from home more frequently. When I suggested we take a vacation to celebrate our 7th anniversary, she said she was too busy with a major client project. I trusted her completely, so I simply felt disappointed but understanding. The night I found that second phone changed everything. Jessica had rushed out for what she called an emergency meeting with a difficult client. In my innocence, I thought I'd do something nice and draw her a bath for when she returned home tired. That's when I saw it on the bathroom counter, plugged into a charger I didn't recognize. The screen lit up with a message preview that made my blood run cold. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Last night was incredible. I love you. The sender was listed as M with a heart emoji. My hands trembled as I picked up the device. I knew I shouldn't look, that privacy in a marriage matters, but something primal took over. The phone wasn't locked. Inside, I found hundreds of messages spanning nearly 2 years. Marcus was his name. A personal trainer at her gym. The messages were detailed, intimate, filled with plans and promises and expressions of love that mirrored what Jessica and I once shared. They had been meeting at hotels during her supposed client meetings. The weekend consultations were getaways to nearby cities. Every late night and early morning, every unexplained absence suddenly made horrifying sense. There were photos, too. Pictures of them together that radiated the kind of happiness I thought only we shared. I saw my wife's smile, that same genuine joy I fell in love with, directed at another man. The betrayal wasn't just physical. She had given him her heart, her time, her authentic self, while I received whatever was left over. I sat on the bathroom floor, reading through months of their relationship, watching my marriage dissolve with each swipe of the screen. When Jessica came home 2 hours later, I was sitting in our living room with both phones on the coffee table. She saw them immediately, and the color drained from her face. For a moment, we just stared at each other across the room that had witnessed so many happy moments. She didn't deny it or make excuses. Instead, she sat down and cried, saying she never meant for it to happen, that she still loved me but had fallen in love with him too. She talked about feeling invisible in our marriage, about how I was always focused on work, about how Marcus made her feel seen and desired in ways she had been craving. Her words cut deeper than the infidelity itself because part of them rang true. I had been consumed by my career, working late hours to climb the corporate ladder, assuming our love was solid enough to withstand my absence. I had stopped leaving those little notes, stopped planning surprise dates, stopped really seeing the woman I married. But even acknowledging my failures couldn't excuse what she had done. She had choices, and she chose deception over communication, betrayal over honesty, another man over our vows. The weeks that followed were devastating. Jessica moved in with her sister while we figured things out. I couldn't eat or sleep, and work became impossible as I replayed our entire relationship, looking for signs I had missed. Friends and family were shocked when they learned the truth. My parents, who adored Jessica, were heartbroken. Her own mother called to apologize, saying she had raised her daughter better than this. The pain was unlike anything I had experienced, a physical ache in my chest that never subsided. Jessica wanted to try counseling to fight for our marriage. She ended things with Marcus and begged for a chance to rebuild trust. For weeks, I considered it because despite everything, I still loved her. But every time I looked at her, all I could see were those messages, those photos, those lies. The woman I married would never have done this. And I realized I didn't actually know who Jessica had become, or perhaps who she had always been beneath the surface. 6 months later, our divorce was finalized. We sold the house and divided our lives into boxes and legal documents. The last time I saw Jessica, she told me she would regret hurting me for the rest of her life. I believe she meant it, but regret doesn't heal wounds this deep or restore years stolen by lies. I've heard through mutual friends that she and Marcus didn't last, that the relationship built on deception crumbled under the weight of reality. I'm still healing, learning to trust again, rediscovering who I am outside of that marriage. Some days are harder than others, but I am grateful I discovered the truth when I did rather than waste more years living a lie. If there's anything I've learned from this nightmare, it's that love without honesty is just a beautiful illusion waiting to shatter. And when it does, the pieces cut deeper than you ever imagined possible.